And welcome in once again. Blake here, episode 4 for I Just Kind of Figured. Like I said, Blake here, and joining us once again. Had so much fun last week. We drug him back for another run. JJ, how you doing today? What's going on?
Not too bad. How you guys doing?
Doing pretty good. How's your week? Anything exciting happen on your end?
Not too bad. At least I don't have to come to the podcast after the Bears defeat. That will be happening in approximately 3 hours. So.
We may have to get a live look in somehow, or a live check-in on you. But anyway, cool. Thanks for being back with us. And as always, Ross joining us too. We didn't kick him to the curb. Ross, what's going on, man?
Not much. Things are good out here in Colorado. This is week 4, so we've done a month's worth of podcasts by the end of this one. So, 96 more, and we got triple digits.
And the good news is too, we checked prior. We are officially on iTunes, so check it out. I Just Kind of Figured, the one subscriber, me, just to make sure that it's actually working. So
we are actually out there. A real journey, but we're there, top of the mountain.
We have made it. Feels good. Ross, you said you came bearing stories. What do you got for us here?
Yeah, well, I figured you were probably going to ask me like how my week went and stuff, and really kind of an average week work-wise, but yesterday, I realized I have no food in my place, and we can all relate to that. You're overdue for a grocery run. Literally the only thing in your fridge is like soy sauce packets and like plastic silverware. But it occurred to me after the fact.
You have plastic silverware in your fridge?
Well,
gotta keep it cool, baby.
That's where I
gotta keep it cool, baby.
Yeah, we keep it cool. But I realized kind of after the fact how desperate I was, judging by my Google search history from yesterday. And this was not planned. It just kind of hit me after the fact. So here's what I did yesterday because I have no food. In order, here are my searches. How to tell if chicken is bad. What happens if you eat bad chicken? And third, how long after eating bad chicken do you get sick? So that is the cross section of how much of a piece of shit I was yesterday.
Did you eat the chicken?
Can I take the fifth on that one? No.
Okay.
I baked it and I tried it because I didn't think it was like fully bad, but after eating a few bites, I was like, you can't do this to yourself. So that was my Saturday, and I am going to the grocery store eventually today. So that's how I'm doing.
I can definitely relate to that.
Did you eat anything other than the few bites of questionable chicken?
Well, I had a little bit of extra food, like the last of my rations yesterday, so I am like fully just empty everything today. So yeah, I'm okay as of yesterday, but today I'm pretty hungry. So yeah, I feel like that was just the classic cross-section of a single 28-year-old man who hasn't gone to the store, just forcing yourself to eat bad chicken. I'm not proud of it.
Well, we've all been there. I mean, you're right. We've all been there, and it's just a matter of, okay, I've got this chicken that is clearly not good. I could eat this half bag of almonds that's in my pantry. Oatmeal, plain oatmeal doesn't sound great at 3 p.m. So, yeah, it's time. That's when you realize it's really time.
Right.
Like, you can't even throw anything together. Like, sometimes, like, all right, just slap some peanut butter on some crackers. That'll do it. But, yeah, sometimes you just really, really reach the bottom, and that's where you go. So,
and the good thing is I'm not sick today, so I guess it wasn't all that bad of chicken. So, we
wanted to catch you before it hit. So,
right. Anyway, moving on. Yeah. So that was it. Let's move on.
Yeah, and on the topic, I guess, of food here this week, Thanksgiving plans for any of you guys, real quick. I know I'm staying down here in Houston, not traveling back home. How about you guys?
I'll be in Colorado, and I have my sister coming to town on Thursday, so we're gonna just be messing around the whole rest of the weekend. Stuffing our faces. It's going to be great.
Good. JJ?
I'm probably going to Western Illinois with my dad's extended family, which is where I've headed the majority of Thanksgivings, and can't wait for the political discourse.
Yeah, and I will say, when Thanksgiving rolls around, obviously turkey's good, but always got my eyes, always get hyped up for the mashed potatoes and the dinner rolls.
That's stuffing, man. Stuffing is the king.
Good too.
Stuffing is king.
Really good too. I mean, that's a whole nother debate that we'll have to probably have off air, just because that could get really nasty.
Well, I will say this on the stuffing topic: Stouffer's.
I guess we're going there.
Stouffer's extremely underrated. I almost like it more than homemade stuffing. Call it sacrilegious, call it whatever you want, but Stouffer's stovetop stuffing is freaking amazing. I could
Ladies
just eat
and
a box of
gentlemen,
that.
episode 4 brought to you by Stouffer's Stovetop Stuffing.
I think Stouffer's is very good. I think of it kind of as the Lunchables of stuffing because it's just packed with sodium and really delicious. So yeah, I'm not picky. I'll eat any stuffing, but yeah, in a pinch, I'll take some Stouffer's.
Good deal. And let me just get a slice or two of that pumpkin pie. Hold the Cool Whip, and we'll be good there. But cool, guys. Well, we talked about food so much, and especially last week, and kicking this off. Don't worry, we aren't talking about food this week, so that's a little bit of a relief. Nice change of pace here. We're actually going to get into one of my favorite memories from growing up is PE, especially in elementary school. Physical education. Man, like that takes me back. That would be the 45 minutes to an hour where that just made your day. But it could also ruin it, just depending on kind of what the teacher had planned. Ross, starting with you, kind of what are your memories? What are your thoughts on PE growing up?
I always enjoyed it. We had a pretty cool gym teacher in my elementary school. I always remember being confused why they called it PE. Like some people were insistent on calling it PE, and all the kids called it gym. That's not even interesting, but
that's true though. It's true.
Yeah. But of course, as we mentioned last week, you had gym in the same place that you ate lunch half an hour earlier. But yeah, I just remember all just the kind of different stuff, the games we'd play, sports or other kinds of games. It was always fun, always the highlight of the day, along with recess, of course.
Of course, yeah. And sometimes it would be a nice segue from recess right to gym where you just get that, you get to live that high for an extended period of time, just constantly running around like a chicken with your head cut off.
Yeah, and your teacher's crossing their fingers that like you'll wear yourself out and they'll have like a quiet rest of the afternoon with your class, but
Instead, the kids are super fired up. JJ, how about you? What are your thoughts to just kind of getting into it on PE in elementary school and just growing up?
I will say that PE is one of the rare places in my lifetime that I can remember. Basically, like when you see stereotypical PE students and teachers and games and all that sort of stuff on TV, it correlated almost perfectly with like my childhood PE experience.
We're talking the teacher with the crossed arms with the short shorts, whistle around the neck, maybe a clipboard.
Not
maybe
only
a
that,
clipboard.
but not only that, but like my my grade school teacher was like openly lesbian, like butch,
Okay.
like had
Yeah.
the whistle, like it was spot on to like shows like Principal or whatever, like. On HBO where you see people that it's so on point to my childhood experience that it's just like, wow.
They fit the bill. It was easily cast because it was so real. So yeah, well, you talked about stereotypical teachers, which is, you're right. I mean, that it's true. I mean, you could pick out the gym teacher from every other teacher in the school if you put them in a lineup. Like, yep, that's him right there, without even having to scan it. Like, I bet you're the gym teacher. Neither, not good or bad. It's just, it was an easy pick because that's the gym teacher. Let's talk about the stereotypical kids. I mean, let's first of all talk about Johnny Tryhard, the kid that just went over the top every single day, had to just show out every single time in PE. Was that either of you? Ross, was that you in PE?
I wouldn't say like go all out, but I did enjoy it. I was enough of like a sports enthusiast, I guess, at that age to where like, yeah, you wanted to try, you wanted to win, if you're playing hockey or basketball or whatever, but I wasn't very good at a lot of what we did. So I would say I was exactly average at gym. Like if they gave
you were the
grades,
Rudy.
which
You were the Rudy of PE.
Kind of, yeah. I just enjoyed it. I was just, nice to be here, guys, not trying for any medals. But we'll get into it, I'm sure, here in a little bit. But there were several things I just was not good at. But I think I was in the middle.
Nice to be here, guys. Nice to be here. Thanks for the invite. It's my pleasure.
Right.
That's nice of you to thank everybody for that. JJ, how about you? Knowing you, JJ, you are uber competitive, and no matter what it is, even just the simplest, even talking about stuffing, homemade versus store, like you're gonna get down to it. I could see you as the guy going all out, needing to win in PE.
I mean, I am generally pretty competitive, but kind of along the lines of Ross, I wasn't always the best, which made it more infuriating. But I definitely did try hard. But there were usually a few other people that I can think of specifically. It's not going to matter to anybody listening, but like Tyler McNeely, I know you remember, and like Drew Miller, like those guys were.
They were good though. They're athletics.
Exactly.
They're athletes.
Exactly,
too, so.
And they would go all out, like, and it did make it more fun, like in PE, to have those guys going at you. So yeah, that's kind of the few that I can think of off the top of my head.
But you at least tried to hang with them. You picked your spots, though. You know, you'd try every day, but there were some days, too, where you're just going to – I was right there with you. I mean, I was kind of right there in the middle of the spectrum, but I'd say I probably even teetered a little bit more to, you know, try – like, I want to win this game. I want to win that game. That competitive edge, I guess, has lost me throughout the years as I now sit on my apartment floor recording a podcast. But, you know, that's just kind of how it is. I wasted them all in the younger years. But, yeah, I mean, I would probably teeter even closer to that. Like, man, we're playing this game. I want to win, you know. So on the other end of that spectrum, we all know the kids who did nothing at all, you know, stood arms crossed, trying to just stay away from everything. The teacher all period just saying, like, hey, let's pick it up. Let's pick it. Whatever. Just
I remember,
don't get in anybody else's way.
I remember it was even more intense in high school because I had Coach Hubbard, who I think you know, for one of my PE classes, and he literally did not give a damn. So, like, him versus Coach Hampton. Coach Hampton was hardcore. He would make sure everybody was there participating in every sort of event. Coach Hubbard, on the other hand, he would just let you basically do whatever you wanted. It was effectively a free period. And I still remember people coming back like 30 minutes into the class starting, 40 minutes into the class starting, just to be like, hey, Coach Hubbard, I showed up. And that was enough to get a good grade in that class.
You show and you're getting an A, so perfect. Ross, how about you? Do you remember, you know, back in elementary school, especially any of those lingerers, I guess stragglers on the side?
Yeah, it kind of reminds me that those kids would eventually become the ones with attitudes in high school who would just have the choice of participating or walking around the gym, like doing laps. So, Right. Yeah, you always had the kids who just weren't having it. And, you know, either they were on your team and they really sucked, and it sucked having those kids on your team. But, yeah, it's just like, listen, we're like 8 years old here. Like, you don't get tired. So just participate, enjoy it, play knockout, do whatever. Because, yeah, there were, just like we were talking about with lunch, there were definite types of kids in lunch and in gym, you know.
And they planted the seeds early. That's true, Ross, what you said. I mean, those same people, and as the years went on into high school and stuff, it's like, you know what? Just walk, just do something. You know, just please do something. So, gonna dive down a little bit more specific into it. And the less fun before we get to the more fun portion of PE memories, we're gonna get down to the dreaded fitness days. Ross, do you remember the fitness days? What's the first thing that comes to mind when you hear fitness days in elementary PE?
I guess it depends on the grade, but for the most part, like the sit and reach, just because, hey, let's see how far down to your toes you can reach, and then we'll record it on a piece of paper and throw it away at the end of the year. There was always like the mile run as we got older, which I dreaded. It sounded like such a monumental task at a young age.
Right.
Also, let's see, there was the arm hang, and then the rope climb, which was just the bane of my existence. I never even attempted it. Couldn't do it.
I don't think we ever did the actual rope climb at my elementary school, just because I'm sure a second grader can't do this. Like, guys, come on.
That's what I thought, but then there's these kids in my class who just would like scamper on up to the duct tape at the top and like ring the bell. And I didn't know how they learned that skill, because like I've had the same upbringing as you guys, and here you are climbing ropes, and here's me just kicking rocks down on the floor. I don't know what to do.
Green, we're going to be here all day.
We're
going to be here all day. Climb that rope, son. JJ, if you just had to say, you know, one word that came to mind when I say fitness in elementary school, fitness day in PE, what is it?
Competitiveness. Like that was the peak competition moment where you could really pit yourself against other kids and be like, What'd you get? What'd you get? What'd you get?
Right. Oh,
And
that's
see,
absolutely true. Good
That's
point.
true. Because, yeah, you touched on it, Ross, and we're going to, really get into it. And, JJ, I think you're right. This is where the competitiveness really shines is who remembers the presidential challenge that they would have in PE for those fitness days? Show of hands that I can't see.
Oh,
I'm not
definitely.
raising mine.
I definitely remember.
JJ remembers it. Ross, you don't?
Is that just what they called all those fitness tests? I don't remember
Yeah, like
it being called
they
that.
even exactly because the teacher would give up or forget about it halfway through the year. But I remember at my school we had even like one of those laminated next to the Bill Clinton drink milk posters. We had the laminated like presidential challenge, the lineup. So it would be like, hey, if you want to be, in superior shape, you're going to have to go ahead and hit these numbers.
Well, the reason I think that was because if you were within a certain percentile, you got like a certificate and like an award. And like they presented it at the school's like award banquet.
I don't think we ever had an award banquet. I think they just mailed like a little pen to
See,
the kids
we
over the
had an
summer.
award banquet in grade school. Like
So did you? How many times did you hit it, JJ?
I never hit it. The thing is, I hit every single every single test, VSIT,
Event.
crunches, mile, all of them except pull-ups. Pull-ups was the bane of my existence. I don't even know if I could do one. Like pull-ups was the only thing I could not do.
Full disclosure, how many can you do now?
Probably maybe 2 or 3.
2 or 3. If we're looking back, that is the minimum for a 6-year-old is 2 pull-ups. So if we took you back to 6 years old and you could rip out those 2 pull-ups, you would be getting that pen.
Well, there was one point. I think the most I've ever done in my life is maybe 9.
Yeah, pull-ups aren't easy. Like I still try to work out somewhat regularly, and it's just like pull-ups. It doesn't happen for me that well. It's not easy. So that said, though, I can do more than 2. So that's reassuring. That's reassuring, I guess. Some of the other ones you kind of touched on them: curl-ups, or partial curl-ups. So, hey kids, do you want a ribbon? Because if you can't do a full curl-up, just do a partial. The shuttle run, the V sit and reach, or the sit and reach, the 1 mile run. And then, yes, pull-ups or the arm hang. So I'm going to go ahead, Ross, of those that I just ripped out, if you had to pick one, either least favorite or, the one that sticks out the most, which would that be? I mean, as I just ran down the presidential list, any that stick out most specific?
I'd say probably the arm hang, just because when you're 6 years old, you literally do not get tired. Like muscle fatigue is not really a thing until several years later. So I remember kids in my class, you'd think they fell asleep while doing the arm hang because they just were up there. They were just up there forever, myself included. And I think you had to hang there for like a minute, and that was the easiest thing ever. So I always enjoyed that. And I remember like you had the sit-ups where like your classmate had to hold your feet down, and they got, it just was a weird position to be in. But I'd say those 2 I look upon fondly. I'll go ahead and jump to the one that I hated. I guess the mile run, just because
That
now,
was always the big one. Yeah, that was always like,
now as an adult, it's just kind of like, I can jog for 7-8 minutes, no big deal. But as a kid, like 4 laps around that giant track outdoors just sounded like, like a death march almost. It sounded shouldn't use that reference, but
and it seemed like word traveled pretty fast throughout the school too on the mile day, because you just hear from the kids who had PE before you, or somehow it's just like, hey, I think today's mile day. I think you get to PE, the teacher's like, all right, everybody, we're going outside. And you're like, okay, maybe we're doing, okay, I don't see any cones set up. There are no balls out here. Okay, this, could be fine. And then he'd say mile run, and we would be like, well, damn it. What was that? Nothing.
it was super dramatic. Yeah, just like the build up to it. Everybody was nervous except for, like the kids who were actually like, soccer players or something who were used to running. But I just remember like the drama I would build up in my head was pretty intense.
Well, and then sticking on the mile run too, I just remember like we never, like my elementary school did not have a track, but we never ran the mile like in the distance. I don't know if I ever actually ran an actual mile in elementary school, because every year it would be like, all right, run 8 laps around the blacktop. That's a mile. Just run down and back here 3 times. That's a mile. Run around the gym 26 times. That's a mile. Run around these cones 9 times. It was never the same, and I'm sure it's just because the teachers on their end were just like, damn it, we don't have anything planned today. Screw it. Let's just make them run the mile. How long is the mile? I don't know. Just from there back 13 times.
Just run 6 blocks away from school and then 6 blocks back.
And it would be fine. So, and yeah, you are right too, when like you would have the kids who would try hard and be like, did you get under 6 minutes? And then the kid can't, he's like, like really gasping for air. Why are we running the mile outside in November? Like I can't even get a good breath. But yeah, the kids who are just like getting it under 7-minute miles, and then the other kids who do not finish a mile in an hour just because I'm just going to walk. Screw this. So for a 10-year-old though, the mile run, I don't know, 7:57 for a 10-year-old to get the presidential. I don't know. That's not exactly, I could probably do it if I really, really wanted to, if I really wanted that medal. Not that they would give it to me now, but I mean, 7:57, I'm trying to run a slower mile than that right now. How about you, JJ?
I think that for the mile, I think I could definitely pull off a 7:57. When you started talking about the mile, it just made me think of so many, like, I was starting to have PTSD because I was thinking back on my junior high PE coach, as you are very familiar with, Mr. Baton.
Oh, yeah.
Or as many of the kids called him, Master Baton. He was absolutely the worst. Like, I remember for the mile, unless you ran it under like 10 minutes, he'd make you rerun it. Like, and luckily I wasn't a horribly out of shape kid, so like I could always hit whatever his mark was. But I felt so freaking bad for like the chubby
pressure.
kids. No, for the other kids in my class, like the chubby kids, the non-athletic kids, because they would have to run the mile like 7-8 times during the year. Like, he would make you stay after PE and run. Like, it was horrible. And I remember one time during the presidential testing or whatever for the pull-ups, he goes, if you can't do it, don't even get up here. Don't even try. And I still remember.
That's like the ultimate. Yeah, that's the ultimate lesson for life. If you can't do it, just don't try.
Yeah.
Well, and you're shaming kids too, which makes you feel extra bad.
This is 7th grade, and I remember a kid going up, a chubby kid going up, and he started attempting a pull-up. Oh my god. He started attempting a pull-up, and he got about halfway up, and Mr. Baton just grabs him and goes, no, go sit down.
Jeez. Well, I remember he was very firm on no frog kicks to help you get that extra little oomph.
Yeah, he was like, this is how you do a proper pull-up. And then he shows, and he goes, and this is how I did them in the military. And then he grabbed the bar one-handed and started doing one-arm pull-ups.
He was very Mr. Woodcock.
Yes,
from,
very.
Billy Bob Thornton. So, and that also, touching on the mile real quick too, within junior high, which was barely in the 90s still. I think 99, 2000. It just goes with me never having to run a consistent mile because even the track at our junior high was poured incorrectly. Like, they laid like one of the rings, and they were supposed to then lay, I guess, like pour it on the outer portion, but they poured it on the end. Like, somehow it wasn't 4 laps around. It was 4.5 laps. So you had to walk your ass across to the other end of the track just so you're finishing by the school. But even that was wrong.
You're talking about Chittix, right?
Yeah. So shout out to the wrong sized track out there. Ross, do you remember, or you'd said, which one of you, maybe it was JJ, but we're just going to hop right into the sit and reach. That was by far my worst one, and always worried that I'm like, all right, to get what I need to get as a 10-year-old, I don't even remember what this means, +4. I think that just means 4 inches beyond like the little board that, because you're sitting with your feet up against that little box with a plank of wood, and you have to reach far enough just to even get to the board. But then you're just like, all right, I need to go 4 inches beyond that. Let me just stretch the hell out and hope I don't rip my hamstrings in the process, because I need that number. I need that number. Ross, were you able to do that pretty well, or flexible or not?
I guess I don't really have any terrible memories of that, so I was probably average at that one.
You were super limber.
Yeah.
God, did you see what Ross did? He grabbed the back of the box.
Yeah, I just remember thinking, like, of all of the tests, that was the easiest because it took the least amount of physical exertion. So I think I looked forward to that one, actually.
The most exertion for that was, all right, everybody, take off your shoes.
Yeah.
Take off your shoes and then go mess around on the other end of the gym. And then, of course, you had that one kid, the teacher's, I'll record the numbers for you. I'll write the numbers down for you. It's like, whatever. I'm thinking, I remember the one that I was never good at, no matter how hard I tried, because I would try on the fitness, but I would just have to chalk it up. Wasn't the pull-ups for me? It probably was. I just don't remember pull-ups. But the shuttle run, no matter how hard I tried, I could not hit it. And as we're sticking with 10-year-olds here, 10.3 seconds. So, Ross, are you familiar with the shuttle run on your end?
I really don't think so.
Okay.
It doesn't ring a bell.
So I'm going to lay it out real quick for you. That was when, and for anybody else who doesn't remember it, that was when you would have 2 blocks, or sometimes even like dry erase board erasers, on the other, on the free throw line. I can't remember. Yeah, I think it was on the free throw line, and you would start on the baseline. And the teacher would say, all right, ready, go. You'd run down, you'd grab one of the erasers, run it back, set it on the baseline, run down, grab the other eraser, and then you would run it through the baseline. So it's just down, back, and through.
Okay.
Terrible, because I never got a good jump when the teachers, like, because I felt like they were always just like, ready, go. And then, you're just wanting to get that good jump. Could never get the good jump. And then I feel like if it wasn't me, there was always 2 or 3 kids that when they were going to grab the first eraser, they would kick the other eraser to about half court, and then it'd be like, well, no presidential pen for all that work you'd done all year. No presidential pen because you fat-footed the other eraser all the way to half court. So, JJ, how about you? How are your memories? What are your thoughts on the shuttle run?
Shuttle run was not bad. I feel like it's kind of the unforgotten one, or it's kind of the forgotten one. Like because I think about all the other tests except the shuttle run. Like, it never really crosses my mind. Yeah,
so that one, though, also an easy day because you just had to run up, and being at the beginning of the alphabet, I would always get mine out of the way and then go to the other end and shoot hoops or whatever it would be. But, yeah, it would be it was tough because I just didn't have that back-and-forth agility. It was just like a really miniature suicide run. But, yeah, just including the erasers or the blocks, the wood blocks into the mix. So, very good. And then finally, what I know that I could not do, I guarantee, I don't even know if I could reach the 6-year-old level on this, the curl-ups. 33 curl-ups in a minute, I probably couldn't do that. Like, I don't know if I could even do that right now. If we're getting into the 10-year-old, 45 curl-ups in a minute, 12-year-old, 50. I just can't rip out curl-ups like other people. But I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Ross?
Wait, so when you say curl-ups, like from the bar?
Like sit-ups. No, like sit-ups.
Oh, sit-ups. Okay. Yeah. How many was it? 33 in a minute?
33 for a 6-year-old.
See, that's to where you're almost not even doing them correctly because you're just flailing back and forth.
Exactly. Like you're getting, you got your friend that's holding your feet. It's like, all right, count for me. And then you pop up for one, and then you just snap your head back and your body back to the point where, you're like creating a rolling motion where your pelvis then comes off the ground, and then you just snap it back. Yeah,
it's similar to
the imagery
kids
on that is.
It's similar to the kids who, when doing push-ups, would because there's always the kids who want to cheat and boost
1, 2, 3,
their
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Exactly, they would hump the ground essentially, and it's just like I think of curl-ups or sit-ups the same way. Like 33, like that's just
and you had to pick your. Go ahead.
That's just not encouraging you to do them correctly. It's just encouraging like flailing in the name of getting a high score.
And everybody, you just witnessed what it's like to record from 2 different areas. Ross and I talking all over each other for a good 5 to 10 seconds there. Very awkward, very good. But yeah, you also had to pick your counting partner wisely, because you would get the super serious kid or the kid who is just really by the book, and you're counting to yourself, and when it's done, you're like, I think I got 46. And then your buddy's like, a couple of those weren't any good. I got actually 38. So
Yeah.
Well, and just the fact that, your buddy would hold down your feet, and when you get tired after about 8 or 10 of those things, your feet are prying up so hard at their hands, holding them down, because you're looking for any extra leverage you can get to make that floor to knees trek. I just remember I'd get a few of them in, and my feet were kicking pretty hard against my friend's hands.
So how about the best part of the sit-up test? It was undoubted that this would happen every single time. Not necessarily for every person, but for every class. Someone would rip one when they were doing them,
Yeah.
because
Yep.
the impact on the abdominal muscles was so great that you couldn't control your bowels.
yeah, it sounds like you're speaking from experience. Every year. No, you're absolutely right. And then that leads me to a quick tangent. In 7th grade, we all had squads that we would come sit in, or lines, beginning of the alphabet, like 8 at a time, and then just all the way to the end. I remember a kid, I can't even remember his name, and I never saw him again. So he probably transferred schools after the semester, because he was kind of a chubbier kid, whatever. He was a nice enough guy, but he kind of an awkward kid. But anyway, we sit down into our squads, and then all of a sudden I just hear, and then immediately, like without even thinking, it's just like, that was my shoe. That was like he was covering it up real quick. No, that was my shoe.
I don't want to get too off topic, but I will say that one of my more embarrassing moments on a similar story was I was at a track meet in high school, and we were using the restroom. My dad was in the restroom, and it was completely full. There were parents, kids, packed, and all of a sudden, my dad, as he's peeing, lets out a. So my dad, after he rips his fart, looks around at everybody that's standing there and goes, "Anybody else hear those barking spiders?"
Jesus. A classic.
That's a dad excuse
classic
right
dad,
there.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of just letting it be, like a dad just has to just drop something. So good for that. We're just gonna hop. We've drudged up the tough days, the fitness days, the sit and reach, the shuttle run, all the failures there. Let's have some of the good times. Talking about PE games, Ross, first thought that comes to mind, first word when I say game day in PE.
Either like floor hockey or knockout, or something else kind of fun the gym teacher had thought up. So there was a lot of choice there, I remember.
I totally forgot
absolutely.
about floor hockey.
JJ, what are your thoughts here on game day?
Well, first off, floor hockey is super underrated. I'd totally forgotten
great.
about it.
It's great. Except for the kids who always swung their stick wildly, and then, without a doubt, somebody took one in the forehead.
Yeah. But I'll say that probably one of my favorites was kickball. I mean, that's a classic.
That's a good one. I'm going to go ahead and jump right into probably the day that everybody thinks of the most when they're talking about elementary school, or it gets brought up pretty quickly. That multicolored, rainbow-colored parachute laying at center court when you come in. Who knew that a piece of sewn together, I guess, cloth or material could bring so much joy to so many kids?
Well, the thing is, like, even thinking about it, like in grade school, it's one of those things, like, kind of similar to some of the stuff we talked about last week with the school lunches and stuff. Like, it was one of those things where I distinctly remember, you're right, like being super hyped about it, and like it was the best day. But like thinking back on it, I'm like, why? Like, why was I that excited about it?
Yeah, how many times? Like, there are some of these games, I don't know, you could say you could get back together. Like, you could still play dodgeball with your buddies today, honestly, and have an all right time. I don't think there's ever going to be an intramural or an offering for parachute day for adults. It just doesn't seem to translate. But I'm trying to think of some of the games we would even play. Like, seriously, it was just get your class of 25 kids, everybody grab part of the parachute, and some of the games were better than others. I remember popcorn, I believe, is one of them, where all it was the teacher just put a bunch of balls, like yarn balls, small playground balls, this and that, on the parachute, and it's like popcorn, and then you just start shaking the parachute violently as a class, as one unit, until all the balls fly off of the parachute, and then you just do it again. That was probably one of the worst ones. I was a big fan of the lifeguard game. Any of you remember that? Ross, did you ever play Shark and Lifeguard?
Yeah. What was the premise there?
Pretty much where everybody you would loft the parachute up. Everybody would bring the parachute up, and then everybody would then pinch it. Everybody would sit down with their feet underneath that tent that air pocket, and you'd pinch the parachute to the floor. So your legs are underneath and you're holding the air pocket. So it's still got that tent. But there are two kids that were underneath the parachute that were then running around and then grabbing kids by the legs and trying to drag them under, thus being the sharks. And then you had
Sounds
a couple
terrifying.
kids. Yeah, you had a couple kids that were running around on the other end, or on the outside, that were the lifeguards. So pretty much it was a game of tug of war. Somebody pulling violently at your legs, the other pulling violently at your arms, and it was how does that not sound fun to everybody right now?
Well, yeah, I just remember for one piece of cloth parachute, they thought up a lot of different things to do with it. And you talk about popcorn. We must have had less in our budget because we just used crumpled up paper, and that was our popcorn. But I was thinking, because you brought it up a couple of days ago, and I started thinking about when we would use this thing in class, and I'm trying to think of the real application of physical activity here. Yes, you could run underneath it and stuff, but what was the real gain physically from this? Was it arm strength from waving the thing up and down? I just didn't see a lot of physical. Exactly. I just didn't see a lot of benefit other than, hey, let's think of how many games where the kids can run under it from one side to the other. I feel like the parachute was almost the equivalent of getting the TV rolled into your class in other classrooms, because clearly that's what teachers do when they're hungover. So it's just kind of gym teacher says, all right, it's parachute day. Just here's some paper, make some popcorn. I'm going to go sit in a dark corner.
You know how the game works.
And it was just such an oddity to me, but it was fun all the same. You know?
You mentioned the wheeling the TV into the classroom. Stay tuned. We don't know what episode it'll be, but we will definitely cover that glorious day.
Oh, it's coming.
It's got to come. It's surprisingly it already hasn't been covered on. But JJ, what are your thoughts? You kind of touched on the parachute a little bit. Any games that really stick out to you? Anything you remember?
I mean, the only thing that I remember, the thing that I think was the coolest aspect of it, was just when you put the parachute up, and then you look up, and it's kind of a multicolored igloo, and I just remember that distinctly in my mind, being a cool thing. And then I think another cool aspect of it was actually having a parachute. Just the fact that there's a parachute in your gym, you're oh, this is what a parachute's like. And I would think about jumping from a plane with a parachute, but in terms of all this stuff that they was done with it, maybe it's because it was so rare, that's why we loved it so much. Because
it was a once or twice a year thing.
Yeah, because logically it doesn't make sense that throwing balls in the air with a sheet should be that fun.
Kids love it. They know how to. They know how to play to the '90s kids. And I do remember one time using it. It was not without its. It was not without its danger, because I remember one time I had a fingernail pretty much ripped off by hanging onto the parachute, and then everybody had lifted it up and then pulled down real quickly before I was ready, and then that required a visit to the nurse's office. So that was a tough break there for me. But even kids today are using it, because Ross, it wasn't a game, but when you and I were working some freelance basketball, high school basketball back in the day, we saw an entire halftime show centered around the multicolored parachute.
We sure did. That was in Caneland, Illinois.
I think so.
But I forget. It was younger kids,
it
right?
Was it was like Mrs. Something or Other's second grade class doing a rendition or a dance, I guess you would call it, a choreographed parachute to Tayo Cruz's I throw my hands up I can't remember what the actual name of the song is, but
Right.
they would, all it was I remember it distinctly, and I will still text you whenever I hear the song. Before the chorus, while the song is playing, the kids would just walk in a circle with the parachute in one hand, waving to the crowd with the other hand. And then once it got to the part of the song where it says, I throw my hands up in the air sometimes, that's when they would then loft the parachute up into the air and then create that dome. Very, very cool.
I had completely forgotten of the just walking in the circle portion. Hey guys, we got 3 minutes. We got to eat up here, so let's just walk in a circle.
This sounds like a viral video in the making.
It could have been. We just watched it ourselves though and just really took it in. So I'm trying to think of just my favorite game, and then I'll kind of go to you guys with your favorite. Backboard Bombardment was my favorite, and Ross, you weren't familiar with that one. Pretty much, it was just dodgeball, except you could only stay on your end of the floor, and you were throwing at kids on the other end of the floor. And if you got hit, you went to the sideline. And where the backboard came into play was if somebody on your side threw one of the balls and hit the backboard on the other end, one person got to come in. If you made it, then everybody on your end got to go in. So just imagine the euphoria, both on the sidelines and the sense of just self-worth when you just loft that, when your entire team's on the other end and you just bank in one of those dodgeballs into the hoop. Pure chaos erupts and your team is all back in, and it's all because of you. So you felt like a real somebody that day. So my favorite game, I loved it, and honestly, I think I spent a majority of my time throwing it at the backboard because I wanted my classmates to like me, and that's what it all came to. Blake, the game just started. Nobody's even out yet. Stop throwing it at the damn hoop. Sorry about that. So. That was definitely mine. JJ, do you remember that? Do you have another game that really stands out to you?
I do remember Backboard Bombardment to a degree. I'll say I think I'm going to stick with kickball. I think kickball was great. And actually, surprisingly, like as much as I don't enjoy it anymore, when I was a kid, I loved soccer. Like I remember playing soccer. That was good. As far as like kind of unique games. Like Ross mentioned, I had totally forgotten about it. Floor hockey.
Kickball's great. Kickball / mat ball is easily a great game that anybody can get up and play and have a good time. So, yeah, I mean, even trying to think up other elementary school games, I didn't really think of a ton. Like all those nuance games, the ones that the teachers really created. I mean, sometimes they get super creative / lazy, and we played Pac-Man, and there would be three kids that would have one of those yarn balls. They would be the ghosts, and the other people would be Pac-Man, and you would just have to walk on nothing but lines on the gym floor. Like you couldn't go beyond the lines, and you just had to try to avoid the ghosts until they tagged you, and then you were out. So that was fun. But Ross, any other games that come to your mind?
I really enjoyed Knockout, of course, which going back to the two competitive versus not competitive kids, you had the kids who just would focus on shooting the ball. Like once they missed, go get your rebound, try and shoot and make it. Then you would have the jerks that would make up their own. Yeah, you would have the jerks that would make up their own rules because there was never a set rule book on Knockout. So you'd have the jerk kids who'd be like, they'd get your rebound and then they'd punt it halfway across the gym. And it was always an argument, but one that you could never win because the kid was always like, yeah, well, that's how you can play it. You can do that. And then, half the kids are, no, you can't touch the other person. So a lot of drama there. But,
I didn't technically touch the ball. I touched their ball with my ball. So
and that's exactly how it was. You would just try and beat the ball as hard as you could to a different corner of the gym. But Knockout was always popular. I do remember liking floor hockey a lot, not with the scooters, just on your feet. I remember being decent at that because that was the only skate-centric thing that because we were on our feet. Had we been on roller skates, I'd have been terrible because roller skate day was the worst day of the year for me. It still would be. I can't roller skate. But floor hockey was good. And just so I don't forget to bring it up, do you guys remember the pacer at all? Did they call it that?
Oh, God, yeah.
The pacer.
Okay, because we didn't touch on that, and we don't have to now, but I just want to make sure that we're putting that out there for all the 90s kids listening to
Refresh my memory.
The pacer with the beep where you had to run across the court, and then it's like you have to get to level 9 for an actual successful day. It's like beep, and you would run, and you'd have to make it to the other end before the other beep.
Yeah.
And then about a second and a half.
Then you would have that canned voice of that woman just being like, level 4 complete. And
Yeah.
it was just very, futuristic spaceship sounding, like, you know what I'm saying? Like the audio of like any movie of like a spaceship or whatever would just have that woman's voice. So she, I guess, was, on both ends. So
And I just want to make sure we mention that because that was a huge part of gym once we got older as far as like running ability and stuff. But anyway, not to get too off topic, but knockout was good. Floor hockey was good. Kickball, always a favorite too. Always good.
It just depended on kind of what mood you were in. So
when you said knockout, it reminded me of two things. When you said the people that would punt the ball or whatever, I specifically remember people would be like, okay, you can't touch the other person's ball. So to get around it, they would take their basketball and then block the ball or hit the ball with their ball. And I technically didn't touch it. And then the other thing I remember is when the game would start, like you would always have that one person that would stand right next to the person that's about to shoot. And like
shoot it right away.
Shoot it at the exact same time.
Yeah. You got a lot of just shysters, a lot of scumbags playing knockout. So it's unfortunate, but it's just by any means necessary. So anyway, we are going to kick it off right now here to the best portion of the week. Everybody loves it. So as we close out PE, we're going to go ahead and kick off this week's 90s Athlete of the Week. So this week we have, we've gone baseball, we've gone hockey, we've gone basketball. I figured what's next? But we've got football. So my thought here would be, as we actually, we just lost Ross. Ross had to jet out. So we're going to have to do his favorite portion without it. Wait, he's here. He lied.
Yeah.
He lied.
So I texted you behind the scenes. Yeah, I do have to run, but I'll leave 90s guy to you guys. It's a very good one this week. But no, great gym chat. I feel like we could almost do a second episode.
I think we could definitely dive in a little bit more specifically. Felt a little rushed, thanks to Ross. But
thanks to me and my plans, unfortunately. But no, had a good time week 4, guys. Looking forward to hear how you tie this one up. But I will see everybody next week for week 5.
We'll tie a bow on it here. So don't worry, Ross. You are in good hands. JJ, though, we're sticking with football, and I decided to go with 90s phenomenon and NFL washout, I guess you could say, Tim Biakabatuka. Does the name ring a bell to you at all?
Definitely does. But when you said washout and started with Tim, I instantly thought you were going to say Tim Tebow, even though it's not 90s. That's immediately what came to my mind.
No Timmy Teebs this time around. We got Tim Biakabatuka. Played his college football at the University of Michigan from 93 to 95. And then he went on to the NFL to play for the Carolina Panthers, the new team on the block at the time. And he was actually a first-round pick, the number 8 pick by the Panthers, played for them from 96 to 2001, but running it back to his days at Michigan, had a great career. He was the full-time running back in 95, and that's when he really shined. Broke the single-season record that year, totaling 1,818 yards, so 1,818 yards on 303 carries. So averaged 6 yards a carry during that campaign, and actually had a game against Ohio State where he ran for 313 yards in the single game. So that's pretty damn impressive there. Then went on to the NFL, like we said, the number 8 pick, and just injury-riddled career. Never played more than 12 games in a single season, so he only appeared in 51 games, 35 of that as a starter. But Biakabatuka did have 2,530 rushing yards and 17 career touchdowns. And he actually still, as a part of the Panthers, he became the first running back to record 2 touchdown runs of 60 or more yards in the same game. So that's very cool for Tim. And also, just one of the most fun names to say. I just want to say it again. Tim Biakabatuka. Just like I said, it's fun. Go ahead, you can try to say it.
How much did you practice that before today?
None. I remember the name distinctly. It goes,
Okay. So you just got the natural...
I said Biakabatuka a lot growing up. Probably not. But I can't say his first name, his true name. It's just too hard. Tshiakabatuka. Manga. So Simanga Biakabatuka. I don't know how you say it. So we're just going to stick with Tim. But after his career ended in 2001, kind of what he's doing now, they're saying he currently resides in Fort Mill, South Carolina, and he owns four Bojangles restaurants in Augusta, Georgia. So,
oh, wow.
Tim doing all right for himself now on the business side. Bojangles kind of a southern, I guess kind of, I don't want to say like a Popeyes, but a chain restaurant. Got some really good biscuits. I can speak from experience when I was down in South Carolina. So some good stuff there. Tim seems to be doing all right with himself now on the business side since the NFL, his career ended in 2001. So, yeah, I would ask you if you have any real distinct memories of Tim Biakabatuka, but hell, I don't even have any distinct memories other than his name kind of popping up. But have you ever had Bojangles before, JJ?
I have not. But I do distinctly remember the name. It's one of those names like you can never unhear it.
It's probably too because of that Saturday Night Live Mr. Bojangles, I'm sure.
No, I'm talking about Biaka Patuka or whatever. his name
okay.
is.
I thought you were saying Biaka Patuka, just one of the best names.
Yeah,
there,
like
so.
it's like you hear it once and then you hear it again and you're like, oh yeah, I've definitely heard that before.
I know that dude. So from Michigan to Carolina,
was he on
running the show?
Was he on the team with Kerry Collins that went to the Super Bowl?
I don't think Kerry Collins went to the Super Bowl. I think that was Jake Delhomme. But I think he
Kerry Collins did on one team.
I think he definitely made
the championship division.
Yeah,
championship.
I think they made an NFC championship very early, but then they ended up losing. So, but yeah, I imagine he would be on that team. But anyway, that's the man for this week. 90s athlete Tim Biakabatuka. JJ had a good time talking PE, and like Ross said before he had to jet out. A lot that was left unsaid, so we may have to revisit this sometime down the line.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of those memories. So anyway, once again, on Ross's behalf, we'll go ahead and say thank you for him joining us before he had to sneak out. JJ, as always, thanks for making it back to back, man. It was a good time.
No problem. I'm like Drake in this.
Absolutely. So, like we said, go ahead, check us out on iTunes as we are now officially live, which is an encouraging thing to see, as that's what we tried to do, and it actually happened. So there we are. Check us out. Subscribe if you get a chance. Other than that, everybody have a great Thanksgiving, and we'll catch you next time on I Just Kind of Figured.